It's Wednesday, 21st of January, and here are some stories that made it to the top on the news dailies. We begin with the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper this morning, we have on the bottom surface, Malami faces long detention as DSS intensifies investigation. That story is on the page 2 of the Punch newspaper. The sub-story is Sub-Secret Police signal tough stance and prepare court action to detain ex-AGF further as terror financing case unfolds. That story is sitting right on the page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And moving on to the next, which is businesswoman Achimugu kicks as EFCC seeks $13 million for feature. On the page 3, you will find more of that stories on the Punch newspaper. DSS frees Ogun pastor associates after public outcry. And the stories are on the pages 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. EFCC quizzes Benue officials over alleged 4.6 billion naira fraud. And that story is on the page 14 of the Punch newspaper. Domestic refiners move to cut petrol imports. That story is sitting right on the page 21 of the Punch newspaper. Nigerians spend 1.54 trillion naira on beer and orders in 9 months. That story is on the page 22 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Going up, we have federal government doubles January bond borrowing to 900 billion naira. That story is on the page 22 of the Punch newspaper. 5 soldiers, policeman killed in Zamfara ambush. The story is on the page 3 of the Punch newspaper. More of all those insecurities and crimes and deaths are worrying, and we really pray that our safety is assured in every part of the country. And moving on, states hosting IDPs $12 million Wema Bank loan for IDPs, $12 million Wema Bank loan. And the stories on the page 21. If you want more of that, go to the page 21 of the Punch newspaper. Nigeria's ECOWAS exports fall 13% after Sahel states exit. The stories on the page 2 of the Punch newspaper. We also have picture stories about the chairman of, just go to the Punch newspaper and see more of all the stories and associates that's along with the picture stories. And moving to the next, which is the Daily Trust. The Daily Trust newspaper. On the bottom surface, we have abduction. Kaduna villagers recount ordeal. That story is continued. It's continued on the page 3 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Atiku wades in as supporters and obedience clash over ADC tickets. You'll find that story on the page 10 of the Daily Trust newspaper. 11 killed in Edo auto crash. That story is on the page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Another result of insecurity and another crime committed. We really want our security to be assured in the country. And moving on, PDP court dismisses Anyawu's suit after withdrawal. And that story is sitting right on the page 15 of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Varsity student commits suicide after losing 600,000 naira to betting. 600,000 naira to betting. The story is on the page 17. And this is a sad story. We offer our condolences to the friends and families of this student. This is a serious issue, and we find ourselves doing things that we don't expect, and then they make us end up in situations that are really terrible. Let's all be careful with the decisions that we make. Money is really not everything. Moving to the next, and Daizani appears before United Kingdom courts over alleged £100,000 bribe. That story is on the page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. 6 drowned in Benue boat mishap. The story is on the page 6 Sitting right on the page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. That's all for the Daily Trust newspaper today. I'm moving to the next, which is The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper. On the bottom surface of the Guardian newspaper, we have gaps in e-transmission. Vote buying sanctions spark calls for reform. If you go to the page 6, you will find more of the story on the Guardian newspaper as it's sitting right there. Moving on, court orders INEC to recognize, publish ADC's list for FCT Council elections. On the page 30, you will find a story on the Guardian newspaper. Lagos to divert traffic as repairs resume on Lekki-Epe Expressway. That story is on the page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Davos, Nigeria pitches fiscal discipline as EU leaders condemn Trump's new colonialism. Stories on the page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Presidency accuses IPOB of peddling Christian genocide propaganda. Stories on the page 29. On the page 29 of the Guardian newspaper, Sanwo-Olu Ezekwesili bicker over Makoko demolition, alleged oppression. Stories on the page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Federal Capital Territory workers strike continues as union faults government compliance claim. On the page 30, you'll find that story sitting right on the Guardian newspaper. Trial of driver in deaths of Anthony Joshua's friends adjourned till February 2015. On the page 9, you will find more of this tragic story on the Guardian newspaper. And moving up now, we have PDP chair meets ex-Vice President Sambo, says ticket open to Jonathan and others. That's on panorama page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. Federal government and employers may clash over planned increase in employee compensation levy. On the page 5, you can find more of the story on the Guardian newspaper. Rivers Assembly Sean Pandev peace panel over Fubara's impeachment. That story is on the page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have picture stories of the election, and we are looking forward to that. Moving to the next, which is the Nation newspaper. On the Nation newspaper today, we have on the bottom surface, Edun, federal government will rely less on borrowing to drive growth. That's on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. The sub-story, we will depend more on our own resources than on international institutions. That story is on the page 2. It's continued on the page 2 of the Nation newspaper. Diezani trial in the £100,000 bribery case begins on Monday. And that's on the page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Alaafin relocates to Ancient's Palace. That story is on the page 6. You'll find that on top of the burning surface story, that red headline there. That's on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. Coming down, we have court likely to seal government acquisition of Hussaini's controversial United Kingdom house. And that story is on the page 3 of the Nation newspaper. The sub-story under that story is no one has shown up to claim the house after interim forfeiture order. On the page 3, you will find that story on the Nation newspaper. Death toll rises to 3 in Osun, NURTW crisis. That story is on the page 5 of the Nation newspaper. INEC OK's campaign in Ekiti. That story is on the page 6 of the Nation newspaper. Going up, we have IG deploys squad to rescue 177 kidnapped in Kaduna. That story is on the page 2 of the Nation newspaper. Nigeria produced 554.4 megabytes in MB, 554.4 MB in 2025, says NUPRC. That story is on the page 7 of the Nation newspaper. Missing nonagenian Opral Benson in Liberia, says AREF. That's on the page 4. And INEC declares readiness for FCT area council polls. That story is on the page 27. It's on the page 27 of the Nation newspaper. That's all for the stories that made it to the top on the Nation newspaper. Finally, we will go to the Daily Times. We also have the Daily Times this morning. On the bottom surface, we have Chinese firms in Nigeria face scrutiny over alleged payment diversions, tax evasions, and CIG Motors Excel led. Other stories are continued on the page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper. Conferment of GCON on Chagori, a state-sanctioned imputiny team. This was said by Timi Frank. More of the stories you find it on the page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper. Federal government targets $74 billion revenue from livestock sector in 10 years. Go to the Daily Times newspaper. You'll find more of that stories on the paper. Going up, we have DSS rearrest Malami in Kuje prison for alleged terrorism financing. Now the story, it's also on the Daily Times newspaper. Bank's loan portfolio falls to 52.656 trillion naira, lowest in 4 months. That story is also on the Daily Times newspaper this morning. And if any of the stories on this paper catches your attention, please get any of them and read. That wraps up all the papers this morning.